ever existed and is now out of the map pool. We have up on the top right hand side of the map, represented by a bear that looks tired. It is from Team Whatmate, Time to Tell.
Isn't that such a hard name?
It is.
It's like Time to Tell, like 3T, like Time to Tell. Like how do you? Where do you enunciate the Time to Tell? And the bear, I like the bear too. But
yeah,
this is Infinity Gaming North America. That's that clan tag before I hash it up, right?
Yeah.
Infinity Gaming.
Yes.
All right. So in the bottom left-hand corner of the best map of ever, representing Infinity Gaming North America, the red Terran, TerranitUp. Slightly easier on the earballs there.
Yes, it is definitely, and it's more like intuitive somehow in that it says Terran right in it.
Yeah.
You know.
Whoever knew that we had a pun for a race.
Exactly.
You can't do that with. So you can do that with Protoss.
Yeah.
You can Protoss in it, Brotoss, things like that, things of that nature. You can't do that though with Zerg. Zerg is the worst
Zerg
race.
doesn't work for words. Yeah. It doesn't do anything.
We do have a Reaper versus a Marine, and we've got another Reaper coming out. So Infinity Gaming North America's tearing it up, showing he's not afraid of going a little bit away from the meta, at least. I don't see two Reapers a lot like this unless you're, of course, Reaper rushing.
Yeah, not on Overgrowth as much either. Will he be able to get away here? Yeah, just barely, I think will. Marine probably could have cut him off. Second one will come up, and he immediately gets the command center behind us, which is also quite interesting.
Yeah, so we saw a player last season, I believe. It was San Samea, I think is who it was. He was in the Challenger League, so he was a master player, and he actually did a couple of builds where he got a lot of Reapers out early on and was able to do damage basically like this. And you know what? These two Marines are going to die, and then he's going to be able to come up and hit these other two. And you know what? Time to Tell is probably thinking he's being Reaper rushed. The SCVs are able to get a good bit of surface area.
Well, they escape. Don't even turn to fight. Just go.
Yeah, two more Marines are going to pop, and they're both going to die. They're both. Oh my God, no! What? He didn't target them. They rallied. Ugh.
Oh, that's pretty intense right there.
That was really
close.
close.
They were, of course, pointed out to the corner, and yeah.
So the rally from the Marines missed the Reapers, and of course, when you rally Marines, they are in command move. They're not in attack move, so that's why. Back home, we see an engineering bay, a factory go down, as well as the orbital command upgrade on the newly built CC. And I'm pretty sure this is picture perfect San Samea, if I'm not mistaken in who that's what it was, as they jump back up into the plateau, and one of them dies a vicious explodey death. But he would get like a bunch of Reapers, like not even care about Banshees, like get them all across the map, see what his opponent was doing, get a couple of SCVs or what have you, because it was a Terran vs Terran build. It wasn't like a TVP or TVZ build.
Yeah, this is a neat one overall here. The initial Reapers, like you said, got in, did some damage, and they've now kind of spawned this many Marines to be built, and it's a tank follow-up right after that. Whereas for TerranitUp side, he's looking at like going into heavy upgrades, going into higher tech, other things, and he could get hit by a little bit of just an attack. Like if this little force just moves out, 8 Marines and a tank, if he went and attacked with that, there would actually be a problem right now, but I don't think he's going to.
No, and back home, I think we have a second engineering. Oh no, that's Time to Tell us engineering bay. Okay, we have a siege tank coming out for TerranitUp, so just in time. Had that force moved out, like you said, it could have been a little bit of damage. But the upgrade is going to come in and nice and timely. And of course, it's not stem or anything like that, so it's going to stack up over time. Who is that? Oh, it's Ender for a little bit.
Me. I'm back.
Not me. So getting the early, level 1 weapons scales up your upgrades through time. So of course you need stem no matter what if you're going bio. But it's interesting to go for the original. Attack weapons first as opposed to stim, because it really makes it so that your mid game is so much stronger in certain ways.
Yeah. Yes, quite the case.
But we do have this force for Time to Tell moving out. I don't know if he's going to be able to get much done here.
Yeah, it's like with the bunker. I mean, it's pretty even forces plus a bunker and plus one's already sieged up. The medevac helps a little bit, but obviously not enough. What he could do from that position was do that standard you go to the third base and siege up behind, and then you kind of have flipped the script, and they have to come into your siege position. But he will just go home.
Yeah, I think that's a bad move from TimeToTell, and exactly what you were talking about. You have to force your hand. And one thing we're seeing a little bit of a rookie mistake out of TimeToTell. He's not letting his medevac go ahead and heal his Marines. Of course, they're going to go home and stuff like that. But the scan's going down, and they're going to see the SCV. So at the third, so they're going to see the timing of when he should be taking it. In Bio and versus Bio and in any TVT, actually map control and map vision is super important. So going home after that, now he's kind of relinquished what his opponent is doing. He doesn't have his as good control as he would have had, other than that.
Yeah, is quite true. Looks like we've got the Banshee sneaking up the left-hand side here. I'm sure he expects to come in and see a CC under construction. There isn't one. But am I doing something again here? I froze for a sec. Okay.
No, you look okay.
Yeah.
But we do have a drop coming in. Like you said, the Banshee, I like the Banshee decision because it's a late Banshee. And one thing you don't really expect is the 10-minute Banshee timings. So there's not really any defense for that by way of turrets or detection. Going up for TimeToTell in his main and his natural mineral lines as this medevac makes its way out. And this could get a lot of damage done, and this is something you're not prepared for. So the SCVs are going to be pulled, and Marines pulled back to deal with this. But I mean, he could go to work on some of these SCVs. Now Marines are in position. I don't think this is going to go much further than this.
Yeah, we'll skate away. He would have had to decide right in the moment, but he could have actually probably picked the tank off before someone stopped him. But this.
And did he get cloaked? I don't think he actually ever got cloaked either.
He hasn't researched that. So it is. Oh, the Banshee does get picked off as it just kind of wanders out. Second one is up there, not moving yet.
Yeah, there was a drop in the main of
TerranitUp. Yep.
And he did a really smart decision there as he targeted the medevac before he engaged the Marines. And had he not done that, the medevac would have been able to give just a slight advantage to the outnumbered Marines. Instead, stemmed TimeToTell's Marines didn't have the medevac support that they needed. Now we have pushes coming out at about the same time for both players because they both have controls of the opposite Zalnaga towers now. So they both have an idea of what's going down. And 3 tanks in the Banshee versus 2 tanks and a couple Marines. I actually give the benefit to TerranitUp here. He's got a slight supply advantage, and I think he's going to do exactly what you wanted TimeToTell to do and position those 3 siege tanks behind the third or the second, and give the Banshee the high ground vision to be able to go to work on those SCVs in the mineral line.
Yeah, it does look like he's moving into that position. There's just one Marine that will spot it, but I don't think he'll be able to stop him in time. He's going to try and move over there now, but then think better of it. No, he actually will stem forward before the siege up, but I think this might be death.
Yeah, there's just so many units for TerranitUp right now. The siege tanks are able to get a couple of good hits off and defend what they need to defend. Of course, it's a misrally from TerranitUp, getting units up into that siege tank line. Now he's going to back off a little bit. I'd like to see Cloak have been researched, because if you're going to get a Banshee, they're about 50% diminished if you don't, have Cloak with him. He could be targeting those tanks right now, forcing scans out of his opponent as opposed to letting him sit at home and stay. And you know what? This is what we're seeing out of both players. We're seeing them poke, see what's going on, and come home. And honestly, in StarCraft and anything like that, there's so much in seizing the advantage, both mentally and physically on the map, and both players are kind of okay with letting that slip, and I think that that's a mistake on both parts.
Yeah, I think maybe TerranitUp didn't realize it until he actually hit that stem key, but the thing that was missing for him there was medevacs. Yeah. Because, I think he did that. He won the little engagement, but maybe as he stemmed his whole army, kind of thought, oh, I can't stem again, actually. Or, like, it would put me at half health if I did. So maybe I should back up until I get some more.
Yeah, and the third getting taken for TimeToTell actually sooner than his opponent, TerranitUp, who's seen a healthy advantage. But the medevacs are actually going to be such a big part to play if he hits this timing here. +2 is about to finish up attack, and armor just started up. But, the upgrades are decently similar, but +2 already for TimeToTell finished as the scan goes down from TerranitUp just to confirm that there is indeed a third. These units are going to stem up into this ramp. He doesn't have vision. Now he scans forward and sees what he gets it. He likes it, but now he doesn't and backs off. I think he understands. That's a pretty big army there. I don't know if I can take that on. He's going to go home.
Yeah, it is a bit too much. Even with the upgrade advantage, it's not enough.
Now that he's got this army with them.
Yeah, maybe. if he sieges up here defensively.
Oh, he might be able to skirt around away from the siege tanks now, and now he's going to get his siege tanks involved, and only one being able to fire from TerranitUp. A pretty good concave, but TerranitUp's units actually able to outperform TimeToTell's, and now he's going to drop on these siege tanks. And the Banshee still going to work, and all of TimeToTell siege tanks are to go, but you know what? Not a super trade one way or the other, and TimeToTell is going to already start +3 weapons for his bio units.
Yeah, TimeToTell, unfortunately, was not rallying forward at that point. If you look back at home, there's like 30 or 24, I guess, Marines plus another tank and everything. Had that been still coming in, he couldn't have done that pickup at the time that he wanted. But either way, they are, like you said, we're relatively even after that, but it's really the tank count that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and unfortunately, tanks, as we know, don't make as quickly as any other unit, basically, for Terran in this composition. So there's a lot of scans going down from both players. There's a lot of moving around the map as we see both armies going to the opposite third. TerranitUp's going to go ahead and get his army collected for just a second. He's going to check. I think, nope, now he's going to go in as TimeToTell realizes what's going on. He needs to get his forces back and sieged up at the planetary in order for anything to happen. There's 5 siege tanks here. They're going to siege up just outside the planetary. SCVs are going to start repairing, but I don't think this is enough for TimeToTell to defend.
It's actually, he stopped the repair. He stopped the repair. He could have maybe held that a little longer. But, yeah, TimeToTell back in, but he's lost his third. He will lose most of these SCVs here. The pickup, he's going to try and drop on the tank position of TerranitUp. They are guarded by Marines, though.
Oh, God, he's going to lose one medevac relatively shortly, and then the next is going to go down just as soon, and not picking up a single siege tank. And a forward scan from TerranitUp. He likes what he sees. He's probably going to continue this push. He's actually lifting up. He's going to go ahead and do the Doom drop already over the Marines.
Nope.
He's getting a little skittish. He could probably just go right to the natural mineral line, drop that, and beat the Marines as it were. But now it might not be a good idea. Don't do this. Oh, God, the Marines are able to get right on top. And if they can get in on top of these siege tanks, which they're not actually able to do, the siege tanks are finally able to clean stuff up. And 71 to 151 supply, that seems about it for TimeToTell, unfortunately. It's going to be an uphill battle from here on out.
Yeah, that's a rough one. And it was a cute idea to think he could pick up and drop on that 5 tank position, but there were Marines there. You have to do that when it is actually bare. He didn't know that, obviously we do, but yeah, he lost too much there. And then also the decision to just come back in the first place. If you trade a third for a third, that's okay. You can't lose yours and not get theirs.
Yeah, we do have this bio Stimmin 4 from TerranitUp. TimeToTell doesn't have enough. 3 siege tanks here are going to eventually be picked off with the bio supported by these medevacs. Just 3 Marines and a Marauder. Now he's going to pick up and go over the top of this siege tank and drop right in front of it. And that seems to be, it's the end of the road for TimeToTell. He's fighting as hard as he could be. And now he's going to be going and picking up, TerranitUp is picking up Marines, dropping them. And actually TimeToTell able to get a small advantage, at least in this fight, but 3 tanks making their way over.
Yeah,
you know
so
what?
much more coming.
Yeah,
he might. Yeah, like there's more coming. He's actually going to hold a force back and then come in with a little more strength.
So one of the things here, just to maybe give a little bit of advice for Terran players, especially in this matchup, is to monitor the amount of medevacs you make. One thing is for sure is that you need units and you need to constantly be making units, but TerranitUp has so much of his supply and so much of his units in medevacs. It's a kind of ridiculous amount. 10 medevacs. You do need that for mobility, and I guess sometimes I've never, this is my personal opinion, I have never seen a need for that many medevacs. It's against Protoss, 4 to 6 is the magic number, and Zerg about the same. Terran versus Terran is a bit crazier of a matchup, but 10 medevacs. I mean, I guess you need it for this.
It's you still don't need it for this. Yeah. But at some point the Vikings are better. Like to get a few Vikings in, neither of them made them, so you would win the air if you had them.
Yeah, and of course
counter
that is.
Drop.
Oh, there is a counter drop going on.
Counter drop, but there were turrets everywhere, so it didn't really do anything.
And like you're talking about with the Vikings there, the Vikings aren't just, of course, for taking out medevacs, but the key to siege tank battles is vision. Yeah, exactly. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back. Of course, Senate StarCraft League for you here. Second game of this potential best-of-5 series between these two Terran players, and we'll get right into it. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of the 4-player match, Deadwing, representing Infinity Gaming North America. It is the Teal Terran player, TerranitUp.
And his opponent down here in the slightly darker blue, it is from Team Whatmate, which I think actually stands for something that I forgot to look up. It is, or not stands for, but it's actually a different name. It is TimeToTell.
Yeah, TimeToTell Sleepy Bear unfortunately lost last game in pretty topsy-turvy fashion. I wouldn't call it convincing by any means. Yeah. And it really came down to who was able to eliminate the opponent's third and deny that extra bit of economy. Yeah. It wasn't much crazy. Both players went for very similar builds. We had a Banshee come out of TerranitUp, but other than that, it really just seemed like who had a better feel psychologically for the game and who could see it out to a victory.
Definitely.
Reaper on the way though for TerranitUp. He likes the Reapers. He went up to 3 last game, actually, and there's an SCV scout already scouted for TimeToTell, so maybe he's able to adequately prepare for it. And he sees a CC on the low ground. That's a pretty nice pickup for a Terran player because typically there's so much gas first into aggressive builds that comes out of these players, Terran players, that you don't see that every day. It's a big scouting pickup.
Quite true. It is indeed. To be able to see that sort of thing. They obviously, what's going on here? Reaper's still looking around.
Yeah, he's going to horizontal spawns, and I don't know if he remembers that Deadwing does not have...
can't be there. Yeah.
Deadwing doesn't have horizontal spawns, so he's going to come up and he's going to see nothing, maybe just a missed rally, that sort of thing. But if I'm... Okay, so TimeToTell went ahead and made his CC early on. I don't think that's the right move, and because you can do so much damage early on with just Hellions, Marines, and a medevac. Like, you can exploit the early CCs so heavily that it's almost impossible to take these days.
Yeah, you really can punish, and particularly in this case where the Reaper did go to the base that doesn't exist or cannot be there, he'll get the scout off last on his opponent, so had there been something aggressive, he wouldn't know for quite some time. He's still gonna get a decent Marine count out, getting the factory up. Widowmine is coming out for TerranitUp. It's going to be
your favorite player, your favorite unit in the game.
Unit. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be rallied towards the CC, so it's going to be there primarily defensively, at least initially. And it's good for that stuff, like against like a Banshee or an Oracle or like a Drop or like very specific targets. Just having the one in the mineral line can do such damage if someone's not looking, or if it's in one of those hidden spots that you can't actually see it without rotating the camera.
Yeah, I mean that's such a cool thing to make Zerg players do, because I love to hide my mutas or my Widowmines behind refineries and things like that, and make my mutas players. And if you watch some good muta players, specifically Jadong, he will actually rotate his screen. Yeah, to make sure there's a Widowmine there or not, if he doesn't have an Overseer, which is pretty, I think, just next level stuff, again, from the type of player like that.
Definitely is the case. So yeah, TimeToTell, again, getting a tank out, getting a medevac out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes with this, because we have a Banshee on the way from TerranitUp. And once again, it's going to be a little bit, unscouted from TimeToTell. And he likes the later Banshee. It's not necessarily the latest Banshee, but he is going to get Cloak this time. Yeah. And he is going to actually force his opponent to do something about it in terms of detection. We do have a full medevac full of Marines boosting out of the natural of TimeToTell, looking to get some damage done, I think in the main probably. The good thing about this is if he gets near the starport, or if he intersects the path of the Banshee, he'll be able to take it out before it ever gets into his base. It's going to be really big if he can see it, if they cross over, or if he reacts. If he sees it and he doesn't react, and that's exactly what happens. He doesn't see it. What you can do, of course, is you can boost your medevac along with it, and then drop your Marines out of it as you're moving, and then you can pick off a Banshee very easily because it's slow, but unfortunately he didn't see it on his minimap.
Yeah, drop will come in here. It is going to avoid the Widowmine, which is a little bit out of a position I would have expected, actually. So the drop does get down here. going to work on these SCV, actually going to work on the supply depot in the back. Banshee will come into the main mineral line as well. Turret was started, but not up. Cloak is not done, though.
Yeah, Cloak isn't finished up. It's almost finished up, but it's still not... He needs to get an SCV on that turret, and it's very close, and it died just before Cloak finished. And TerranitUp actually was able to shoo away the drop, and I think he eventually actually picked off the medevac with that Widow Mine that was so out of position.
Yeah, it's got one kill, and I think the escape route ended up getting him. There was
a lot of action going down in that span of a few seconds there, and it's pretty interesting that these players, they were able to pull off some good macro plays there. Not either player, they didn't really lose as much as they possibly could have, and then their attacks did, kind of fizzled out, losing the Banshee and the medevac full of Marines respectively. So, pretty interesting.
He hasn't finished the missile turret. The Cloak is done here now. He's going to come in directly and target these Marines. Scan goes off, but they were target firing the rocks, so they didn't even really fire. I think only one Marine actually shot at the Banshee.
Yeah, that Banshee could have died fairly quickly. And who throws down that scan? I think it had to have been TimeToTell, right?
That was Terran.
Why would you scan
it was late blue. I don't know why he was doing that, but...
Huh.
Okay, whatever.
He had his Banshee there in location. Anyway, maybe looking for Widow Mines or something.
Widow Mines, yeah.
Who knows? But I think both players are going for very similar builds, but once again, TerranitUp just got a slight supply lead. But their upgrades are very similar. Stem's just going to be finishing up a fairly shorter for TerranitUp. I just think TerranitUp's got a slight advantage, maybe in the mechanics of the game, but it's ever so slight, and it's not going to make itself really visible until the mid to late game engagements.
Yeah, both of them have an interesting kind of habit of picking up a lot.
Yeah.
In the middle of fights, and sometimes that's really good. It can be a very high level thing to do. It can also be disastrous to do.
It just looks so cool.
It does look. That's one of those things. It looks awesome, but the skill cap on that is like very high of like when to do it, when not to do it, and because if you do it at the wrong time, they can like chase you down, and then you've got nothing.
So many scans going out from these players. I like it because they both understand the difference between just straight muling for the sake of muling and having the information. But one thing is the case of getting your army all the way across the map to then scan and say, oh wait, I actually don't want to do this. Well, okay, if you're going to take your army all the way back home, why didn't you just, I don't know, stim a Marine up there just to see what your Marine was going to encounter? Because that'll give you the information the same way. But, there's scans going down all over the place for these two players, and they're just like, oh, is his army chasing me now? Did he see me? This type of thing. There's a lot of different ways to get information, and scans are one of them. But to be overly reliant on them could spell disaster. As TimeToTell's army is a little bit out of place here. If TerranitUp can sense this, he can trap the entire army.
Yeah, there is no escape from this position. He's actually going to try and siege up this point and do an elevator drop in.
Oh god, I don't know if this is going to work. The Marines do come into the main, and now TerranitUp's army comes back, and this is looking pretty disastrous.
Yeah, this is a one-way trip for sure, but these tanks could get a lot done before. There was a little bit of hesitation there on TerranitUp's side.
Now it's looking like TimeToTell siege tanks are going to finally get cleaned up. Some decent splits from TerranitUp by way of his bio micro, and he's going to go ahead and take a third at the same time as boosting units back into his main just to check. I don't know if he knew whether or not he was completely safe from there, but one thing I like is that he's been able to keep at least one Banshee alive from the initial Banshee pushes to just give that extra little bit of firepower against units like siege tanks in the engagements, because it can sometimes really mean that the difference between just barely winning it and absolutely crushing a siege tank line.
Particularly since neither of them has shown a tendency to make Vikings, the Banshee can become king of the world.
Right, yeah.
If just nothing ever is able to attack it. We'll come in here now. We've got a pretty decent army. Won't want to push directly, but there is only one tank. And trading bio for tanks can be pretty good.
Yeah, especially if you split your army up decently well. He's not going to target the siege tank. Now he does, and once it's gone, he can come back into the safety of the siege tanks. And unfortunately, it's going to be very tough. Let's see if we get some of that risky drop micro that we love to see out of these two players. Not seen it just yet, as the turret is able to take out that Banshee finally, but it was a hero Banshee. Unfortunately, this is looking pretty rough for TimeToTell. TerranitUp has played a great game. He is able to see, TimeToTell is able to save that CC, for better or for worse. But if you look at the minimap, it's just a stream of teal players coming across, and of course he's already saturated his third, so this is looking rough for TerranitUp, even if, or TimeToTell, even if he survives this.
Yeah, he's trying to bait him back. It could leap forward at least some of the tanks here now to try and control the bottom of this ramp, but he's got him backed up, obviously, onto that one base versus 3 bases on TerranitUp's side. And it's going to be very, very difficult for TimeToTell to recover from here.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at the production tab, TerranitUp is still making medevacs. He's got 2 coming out at a time, and like I said, do we really need that many medevacs if we're not going to be doom dropping and splitting your army up, all that sorts of crazy? But he's going to go ahead and decide to go home. He understands that he's in such a good position right now that it doesn't really matter what he does. There's a small engagement going down, mopping up some more of these units, and he can definitely just probably sans siege tank support still win an outright engagement as TerranitUp just waits outside TimeToTell's base and maybe a little bit of hesitant, maybe just making sure he has the advantage. But one player who actually likes to do this is Major. He will make damn well sure he has an advantage and just play it out until the very end in every single way possible.
Yeah, he could re-siege up this natural. There's nothing on the low ground stopping it. But he's just kind of waiting to mass up here.
And it's not bad at all, because if, he's eventually going to have a much bigger army. He can just outproduce his opponent as what else is he going to do? So this is the beginning of the end. It's kind of
this should be it right now.
It's a lot of bio.
No tanks left. That will die, and
GG. It's called.
Hello, here we are on Vonnie Research Station for what could be the last game of the evening, as we have our player on the top of the map fighting for his life, currently down 0-2 in this matchup. It is our sad panda representing a player from Team Whatmate. It is TimeToTell, and it's TimeToTell if he survives.
Oh, damn, son. That was a brutal pun. I wasn't expecting it, and you need to warn a bro before you throw one down like that. I think we had so many puns going down with Tempo and I, but to introduce the other player, whose actual name is indeed a pun, up game, as Intershort said, 2-0, the Teal Terran representing Infinity North America. It is TerranitUp. Yeah, we had, so Parting represented as this Reaper makes his way around and does what Reapers do. Parting had Kappa as his clan tag, and so I pulled off I hope this guy capitalizes on his mistakes. And then we had Tempo was like, there he goes, parting his units between 2. And then we had I think Hydra. I was like, man, I'm feeling pretty thirsty, someone needs to hydrate, and it was just terrible, and we knew how bad we were, and we just needed to stop. So
it's always got
a little rough.
The worse you know it is, the better it actually is.
That's how puns work. That's what I said.
That is how they work.
Yeah. 2 Hellions now?
Yeah, these are going to be cleaned up here. He may get... he will get one. I mean, it dies, but he gets the Hellion, so that's something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a worthy kill. I mean, it's decent, because the push that we're going to see out of TimeToTell almost absolutely requires that extra Hellion when it hits. Even though we've seen a lot of Reapers, it's 150 minerals and gas for all 3 of those Reapers, and they're all just going to die doing nothing. So this push might work really well. What he's obviously doing is he's getting the medevac, some Hellions, and some Marines, and he's just going to 1-1-1 it over into his opponent's base. I really like builds like this because it gives you the flexibility to deal with stuff like Banshees, but it also gives you the infrastructure to go into the siege tanks and stim upgrades that you need later on. So he's going to move out here and see if he can get any damage done.
Indeed he will.
Where's the scan going down? So scan going down from TimeToTell, or rather TerranitUp in his opponent's base, and he sees what's going on, and he instantly starts to get a tech lab on his starport. So I think a bit of a mystery. He needs units right now. He's not going to be able to defend this very well unless
so we don't mind coming over
to a money shot.
Position. Yeah, not enough there. Yeah. He's going to elevator them up.
Yeah, this is going to be a really dangerous push, and you know what? TimeToTell might actually be able to get some stuff done. But the Widow Mine, he's going right at... Oh, he saw it. That's great. Fantastic out of TimeToTell. He saw the Widow Mine. He needs to get these Marines in on here, and these other Marines, though. Otherwise, he's just going to lose those Hellions for free.
He could target the Widow Mine before it is down. Does get it. Good pickup. With the healing here, these Marines shouldn't be a problem. The Hellion coming in need to go right after the SCVs. They are lined up like crazy if he goes after them.
And there's no more units here coming out for time to tell. There's a siege tank coming out, but like you said, in order for this to have really gotten the damage done it needed to do, it needed to go ahead and start targeting those Marines. You look at the refinery; it's down 71 or 79 hit points, and the command center down similarly numbers. But there's still 24 SCVs here. In the end, TerranitUp's now got a siege tank. He's getting his own stuff out, and he's going to be perfectly fine to go ahead and take a natural, though substantially slower. Oh no, it's already up. He's had it, so quicker than his opponent.
Yeah, it was. He went for that quite early. Now, surprisingly, though, the worker count is actually, despite none really being killed in that, and the earlier command center, the worker count's relatively even. We've actually got 29 to 31 when I started the sentence.
And it's probably going to swing wildly in favor of the opponent by the end of the match, at least. 2 tech labs going down on barracks, it looks like, for time to tell. This Viking is just outside of the natural of his of his base. That way he's going to be able to pick up any drops should he need to. And just pretty good decision out of time to tell. He's had to deal with Banshees every match thus far. Go ahead, throw up a turret into each mineral line to deal with that should he need to.
Yes, indeed. And TerranitUp looking pretty bulletproof in his bases at the moment. I think it looks like he's just going to kind of hunker down and macro up and kind of get other things going. He's again gone for double engineering bay for upgrades. And there's a little bit of a pickup. He's going to bring a tank and 4 Marines and go for... He's going to go for this natural. He will run into the Viking that's there. Or he actually may skirt it, but it's going to be kind of there.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because if it's depending on whether the Viking's in range of the actual medevac, not the vision of the medevac. So there is a little bit of a side alley, and it looks like TerranitUp is just going to miss the Viking. It's going to be very close. Oh, the scan goes down and he does see it, but now he's going to boost in. Once he gets the Marines down, he should be able to get this medevac to be safe if he gets it away from the Viking, which he needs to do, and it is going to go down, actually. So these units are going to be here forever. They need to get a couple of SCV skills to make themselves worthwhile, but after that, that's going to be all she wrote for that drop.
Yeah, does get cleaned up there. Was a one-way trip. So good job there, and that was an almost instant reaction by time to tell. Like the moment that entered his vision, he was already controlling the Viking.
And he's going to go ahead and push out here 3 siege tanks, lots of Marines, and also add a 3rd at the same time. I like this because it's going to go ahead and pin his opponent back. It might be able to put some pressure on that 3rd. And of course, as we saw in the first game, and a little bit even in the second game, it really comes down to who can take and secure the 3rd between these 2 players. They've both been okay to macro. They've both been okay to get their tier 1, tier 2 upgrades in, armories, 3rd command centers. They scan a ton. They're really good on having good reads of their opponents. They're a little bit hesitant, but I think in a positive manner. They're very, very good at understanding when and how they need to hit. And even though time to tell has not been the winner of the engagements thus far, he's not being he's not being outclassed by any means. It's a very close contest between these players.
Now here's where having just that single Viking over your opponent makes the world of difference. Is he can shell that high ground and there's no counterplay to it.
God,
this is bad.
Oh man. Just as we were talking about it, that was an engagement he did not need to take, and he threw away a supply advantage because TerranitUp has been supply locked for some time now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I can see. I don't think he would have expected TerranitUp to be sieged up so far out. Like that's far away from that 3rd base, and it's far away from the ramp. And I think he expected to be able to go there quite safely, and ran into an army that was already ready.
It just seems to be a bit of a recurring theme for time to tell, where he doesn't absolutely have the best game sense of what to do in those positions. We saw it on Deadwing. He got his army trapped with 4 siege tanks. We saw it there. He lost a substantial amount of his army, and TerranitUp is just kind of content to stay at home, wait for that attack, hold it pretty well, and move out when he wants to move out, as both these armies are going to meet each other. And the siege is going to go in the advantage of TerranitUp, and I think even the bio advantage as well. And he's going to be able to snipe the siege tank.
Yeah, and unfortunately that, once again, was the only one. And you need one to fall back on.
And watch how TerranitUp, the difference between how he's moving and how TimeToTell did it. TimeToTell waited, you know, he sieged all his tanks at once. TerranitUp is being patient. He's not forcing the issue. He doesn't unsiege or siege all of his tanks at once. He's going to go ahead and leapfrog them, which is, you know, Terran 101. You know, and he's not forcing the issue much more than he needs to, and he's just going to wait until he smells blood in the water, which is, if he wants it to be, going to be very shortly here.
Yeah, 4 tanks at the bottom of the ramp here, cleaning everything up. There is the GG. TerranitUp taking it 3-0.